We're finally back for a commit breakdown video. I know you've been starving for good news on the trail, and we finally have a commitment to discuss. Welcome to another episode of T-Dub's Film Room, brought to you by thebarn.com. Let's get right to it. All right, as we do, like to start with the profile first here. So Eric Perry, EP, I guess he likes to go by. Running back, DeSoto Central, South Haven, Mississippi, 6 foot 195. He is not rated very highly. He plays at a position, plays quarterback. We'll take a look at the film in just a second. But obviously a guy that, you know, with good senior film, definitely could see his ranking change as long as people can get more of a viewpoint of his projection at the next level as a running back. So let's take a look at the film. Let's see what he looks like. All right, here we go again, taking the direct snap quarterback position. All right, making a nice little read. Here you obviously see the top end speed and the burst. Now look, this is not a long highlight video. You only get about 3 minutes, and really about half of that is him throwing the football. So you really kind of do the best projection you can here with some of the few highlights that we see. Obviously here, a couple of really good plays. We're actually rewinding to the first one. There's a couple of interesting notes here. The first thing I guess I'm looking at with a running back, there's a couple of things. Do we actually get some like broken tackles? Do we actually get some one-on-one moves in space? Something other than like, you know, Alvin Henderson's film, honestly, last year was a pretty good example of like, there's a lot of, you know, 75-yard touchdown runs where he wasn't even touched, or maybe he would just break one, you know, arm tackle basically and, you know, take off 75 yards. It's really hard to kind of extrapolate that. But like a play like this, for instance, is, you know, at least projectable. He's got a guy, you know, kind of in his face here. Fullback takes on a pretty hard lick by the defender. He's able to kind of back up, redirect. Right here, I want you to watch that. We're going to get to that in a second. That kind of swinging arm as he's trying to kind of veer, try to, you know, change direction a little bit. We're going to look at that in a second. Here, another example of, you know, look, there's a couple of things that jump out. I do think, even though he's only rated, or what I've seen is like a 10.93 100-meter guy, that's not blazing. But it does look like he's got some juice in terms of, you know, top end speed and acceleration. And then obviously the broken tackles, the contact balance, that's kind of a sexy thing to say at this point, but you can see that. This is a subtle one right here too. I think this is probably his best run on his tape. Again, another defender in the backfield that he has to deal with, makes him miss. And then right here, bam, that left foot and that cut to get vertical, right, bam, right there. And obviously the corner, I mean, look, it's hard because you don't know quality of competition. It's, you know, a 6 foot, 200-pound basically guy playing against a lot of kids that are not as big or as fast as him. But that run right there, man, the missed tackle in the backfield, bam, foot in the ground, getting past, breaking a few more tackles, keeping the legs churning through contact. Really, really impressive. But here we go. That's all the runs that he's got on his highlight tape, right? Now he starts chunking it. Look, one thing here in the pass game, it's never the worst thing ever if you have another guy in the backfield that can throw it. You're thinking, you know, double passes, like halfback screen passes and stuff, screen passes, stuff like that. Look, that's not going to be a primary focal point of the offense, all right? In any offense is having a running back that can throw it all the time. But, you know, it doesn't hurt. We've had receivers. I'm trying to think. Ryan Davis was a good example of that, right? Had 80-something catches, maybe broke our record. I can't really remember, but obviously he was a receiver. But we definitely used him. I think we used him in a couple of big games as a passer on like a reverse pass, that kind of stuff. So, you know, there is some value to that. And then again, even going back to the first couple of plays here, I do think there's something to the fact that, you know, he's playing quarterback in a read-based, you know, RPO, if you want to call it that, system. And I do think there is something to that in terms of a running back kind of understanding the full picture of what we're trying to see. And working alongside the quarterback to, you know, be on the same page based on what the defensive look has given us. You know, does that mean he's going to be a great pass protector because of that? I don't know. You know, I feel like that's mostly want to. But at least in the read game, I think that's going to help us, and in the RPO game as well. I'm going to highlight this, and we're going to come back to it. We're going to look at comps and everything. But just pay attention to this again, because I'm going to mention it. Watch him. He's starting to kind of change his direction here, and the arm starts swinging. He seems like a really linear player. All right, so once the ball's in his hands and he's a running back, he's a runner, he's a linear guy. There's not a ton of like shake and wiggle. Obviously, it's all within, it's all relative, but he's not like a shake and bake type of guy. And we'll get to my comp in a second, but he's moving forward all the time. It's linear. That's kind of the way he runs. And I do think he has kind of like stiff ankles. He's not super loose, super wiggly. He's strong, but he's a linear runner, actually. And so that's going to kind of affect the way I see him in terms of a projectable player and a comp. You can see his good size. He's not a small dude at all. And so, look, we're going to look at a couple of comps right here, and we'll see what you think. All right, I mean, this is the easiest comp, right? It's kind of the low-hanging fruit. Boobie Whitlow, Jarvis Whitlow. I believe this was his high school rating. So, we know, if you're watching this video, you probably remember him at Auburn. He was not very highly rated. He was a kind of a local kid out of Lafayette. Another running back that played high school quarterback. And so we'll look at his highlights real quick in just a second, and I'll kind of tell you what I think compares and what I think doesn't. All right, so here we go. Jarvis Whitlow, and I mean, by the way, and I'm not going to rewind it, but his stats, this is senior year film, all right? So there's a difference there. The film with Eric Perry's his junior year, so still have one more year of film, but Boobie had like 30 passing touchdowns, maybe 20-something hundred yards passing, another 20-something hundred yards rushing, like well over 5,000 all-purpose yards, and probably close to 50 touchdowns, something like that. Obviously a lower level of competition, but here he is taking the snap. You can see the body type is pretty similar. I mean, I think Boobie was 6 foot 200, so pretty much right on it. And a couple of things here, all these cutbacks and all, it's just not quite the same, I think, as a style of runner. I think Eric Perry probably has a little bit more top end speed. Obviously, who Boobie Whitlow was at Auburn was never a guy that broke a long run. He just didn't have that type of speed. He was a between the 20s back, really good SEC back. By the time it was all said and done, he had developed a lot of patience and kind of reading things out. Even the way that Quinshon Judkins kind of developed at the end of his career as well. Like Boobie had some of that as well. He's very patient pick. And then obviously, especially like some of those gap scheme runs, the powers and maybe traps, whatever, but definitely some of those like buck sweeps and stuff like that. He got really good at kind of picking his way through there. So he had really good vision. And I think he's just got a lot more of that looseness, that lateral agility, the kind of the shake and the wiggle, and a little bit less, like I said, of that just acceleration, that linear speed that Eric Perry has. So from a build standpoint, you can obviously see it, 6 foot 200-ish, coming out of high school, playing quarterback. All right, like some of this looks, relatively, again, a lot of shake, a lot of wiggle, but he had some of that same juice relative to his competition in high school too. So I don't think Eric Perry is going to be a home run hitter either. I mean, unless he's just faster than it looks. I've seen some reporting that, he's running good times in terms of 40s and stuff like that. But like I said, I think I saw a 10.9 300, and that's, it's okay. It's pretty good. Again, this is the low-hanging fruit. I don't think it's the best comp in terms of running style and like who they're going to look like at Auburn. I'm going to show you another interesting one, and we'll round this video out, that you may not agree with, but, we'll see what you think. All right, so hear me out, okay? I've got Quinshon Judkins' junior season highlights pulled up side by side with Eric Perry's, okay? I realize that this sounds ridiculous at this point. You probably don't even think they're similar body styles, that kind of stuff. Quinshon Judkins, his recruiting profile, he was a low-ranked guy, 3-star guy, Pike Road, Alabama, not great competition, 5'11", 200, all right? So not vastly different coming out of high school than Eric Perry's, weight and size at this point. Junior season highlights, I think that's, relevant to show that. But if we watch this, all right, they're both breaking to the left. Here we go. We're going to redirect over here. And then Quinshon, there goes the arm swing and the cutback. Here comes Eric Perry, arm swing and the cutback. You can't tell me that doesn't look similar. Their body types are similar. Downhill runners, all right, again, that linear word, just vertical, straight line, breaking tackles, contact balance. I'm not saying that Eric Perry is going to be, 230 pounds and a day or second or third round draft pick, whatever Quinshon Judkins just was. That's not what I'm saying. But I will say this. Boobie Whitlow's the low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of, comparables there between the position, even body types on them as well. But the running style, I think he runs more similarly once he has the ball in his hands to Quinshon than he does Boobie Whitlow, at least what their high school tape shows. So, that's my opinion. If you have another comment or opinion, please leave it below. But I'll say this about the running back position. I'll say this about Eric Perry, though. Of all the positions on the football field, the running back position is the one that I think rankings and ratings and all that kind of stuff matter the least, because even college to pro, which is like the most scouting that happens in the sport, obviously, there's day 3 draft picks and there's undrafted free agents that turn, long, solid NFL careers all the time. Now, you could say, because the position is devalued or whatever, but at the end of the day, people develop differently. You have guys playing different positions. There's a lot of different reasons that a lower ranked running back out of high school can become a really good running back. I mean, Jarquez Hunter was a good example. Quinshon Judkins. I think Josh Jacobs was a pretty low-ranked guy. I think Mark Ingram, maybe I'm speaking out of turn on that one. But there's just a ton of examples. If you wanted to go do the research, you could. But look, it would be great to get 5-star running backs. I think Eric Perry, we're going to see his senior film. I think his size, I think he's got really good size for position. I think he's got some juice. He's obviously got some contact balance and some of that stuff that you like. The fact that he's playing quarterback position, he's going to see things a little bit differently. I'm intrigued. I'll say that. I'm intrigued. I'm ready to see him play this senior year. And at the end of the day, it's good momentum for Auburn on the recruiting trail. We should have some more videos coming out pretty soon after all these official visits, guys making decisions. So always keep it locked on thebarnauburn.com. Always keep it locked here on T-Dub's Film Room. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.